Hello everybody and welcome to the 5th episode of the Let's Learn Images and Words guitar series. Today we are going to tackle the Goliath, that is Metropolis Part 1. Now I'm not going to talk too much during this intro because there's a lot of music to get to, a lot of functionality, a lot of analysis, and a lot of guitar. So let's just hop right into the video right now. The introduction to Metropolis Part 1 can be seen as a bit of a numbers sandwich, whereas the filling, the meats, the ham, and the cheese is the number 1 and the number 2. Now we're filling up the sandwich with 2 number 1s and 1 number 2, and the bread is void. It's 0. Void. 1 cheese. 2 roast beef. More cheese. Void. And then we come into the song where it actually begins. This whole introduction has been a complete joke. The only part of that intro that's not a joke is that it has a 16th note rhythm, dun 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 dun, with a quarter note, and you add more as it goes on. And you also must set your delay to 105 beats per minute approximately. It's around that range, but as long as you stay close, it's gonna sound great. Now let's get into what actually makes this song awesome. And that's the first part, where we come in with this riff. Ready? So what else can be said about this introduction except that it's an absolute classic? And it sets up a lot of sections in the song that repeat, right? So it's you could describe it as the motif of the song. Now it starts off with this little double E palm mute into that little D sus4 to E power chord. Okay? Now the alternating chord progression is that plus this. Now that time we give it a little C sus2 instead of an E. And we outline the arpeggio notes of the chord, which are G, D, and C, with a little bit of whammy bar jigs. Now, that whole progression, that's all it is. It keeps on repeating as such, but we add little surprises in between as we go along. So here's the first real surprise, and then it just keeps surprising you as it goes on. Check it out. That is a 4th fret natural harmonic with a dive bomb, and then as you're releasing the depressed bar, you hit a G, an open G, and you want to nick it with this, your ring finger. Your ring finger is very powerful. Okay, next part. So that section indicates a C Lydian octave run. Okay, so we're playing all of the notes of an E minor scale, but starting on C. So I'll show you what I mean. So it starts with C, D, E, F sharp, and up to the G and back down to the F sharp. That F sharp is the sharp 4 of the C Lydian mode. The next comes back to D sus4 to E, And then we do this little thing. Right? That's all a 16th note palm muting rhythm. And if you look at the tab, I'm going to put it up actually. It goes 1 and a tune, and a tune, and that's what you got to follow. Let me do that slow. Then we come back in, C sus2, we descend down the earlier pattern, and then we add B and A. Then we do this. That's right, you gotta do a little upstroke on the open B and E string, and you go like this. Now that I call a high pedal point, or an inverted pedal point, because the pedal point is on the top. It's on the high E string, and basically you're going to be hitting the 3rd fret of the B string and coming up the E minor scale until you reach the 12th fret. Then we do this C again. A lot of vibrato on that top note with the octaves. Then we come up with the end like this. Natural harmonics on the 4th of the E and the 5th of the A, D, and G, with just massive whammy destruction. Whammy whacking off. Next we're hit with a very interesting riff, because it actually inverts the chord progression that we saw from before. The first part has that D sus4 going to an E, and then a D sus4 going to C. Here, it's flipping around the progression. It's actually an inverted C and then an E. So let me play that for you right now. Now, did you notice something about what I did there? I started that riff up in the 7th fret position and played it here so I can get the open A on that riff. See that? And then I moved to the D string 2nd fret position to play the same exact chords so I can hit this run. Right? That's sextuplets, okay? 6 notes in one beat. And in order to play that exact phrase, I have to be in the 2nd fret position in order to do that. So it's very interesting that you'd play the same riff in 2 spots in the same song. Typically that doesn't happen. The next section, which is considered the first verse, is laughably easy for a Dream Theater song. And it's just a series of 16th note triplet rhythms that go like this. Now if we reduce that to just one single time, it sounds like this. And that's it. If you reduce it to that, and then repeat it 14 times, you have the entire first verse of this song completed. The very next section, which we could consider maybe the chorus of this song, because this is one of the few sections that repeats itself, hints at the introduction as it starts like this. Now instead of hitting the C chord like we're familiar with, it actually goes to a B sus2. So it's as if it's hitting a 5 chord, but with that added sus2, that C sharp on there, which doesn't exist in a regular 5 chord. So we have this. Open G, D, back to the B sus2. That's an octave lick from 2, 4 to 5 and up to the 9th fret and the 11th fret. Okay, so B, C sharp, D, F sharp, with some nice vibrato added into there too. And then in E minor, in 7th fret position, D major, C, and then this little Lydian lick here. So you're hitting a second inversion C major chord at 5-5-5, and then you're taking one of your other fingers, it could be your pinky, could be your ring finger, and you're going to the 7th fret of the B to add that F sharp, the sharp 11, then the 8th fret to the G, down to the sharp 11 again, resolving back, which is like this. And then we have a measure of 5/8, 2 measures of 5/8, with this E minor type of thing. We're starting on the G and we're going like this. So we take those notes, G, A, G, F sharp, E, and then D, C, B, G, F sharp. Let's take a look at that entire section full speed. So after we let that E power chord fade out into the distance, we hit our first clean section of the song. Now this section involves a lot of high-end equalization, a lot of fizzly, sizzly treble. And if you listen to the isolated tracks, you'll know exactly what I'm saying. You hear that high-end sizzle? It's crazy. Very characteristic of the early 90s. Everything had to be that way. Let me preface this next riff by saying that no official tab exists of this section. That's right. Online, on the internet, I scoured all corners and I couldn't find anything on this. On the official tab, there are chord symbols on top, but no actual tab to go along with it, so the voicings aren't there. So here, I'm going to give you the voicings that I believe to be the exact ones, and it sounds exactly the same if you play it along with it. You can fact check me. I dare you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's quickly just take a look at what the timing is for that and how the chords interact with that timing. So starting off, we have an F sharp sus4 as such. You have to stretch your fingers out. Your pointer's on the 4th of the D, middle's on the 6th of the G, and then your ring and pinky are on the 7th of the B and E. And you hold that out for the entire 4 beats plus the first 2 of the next measure. Now on the end of 2, you're going to hit this, which is a G69. This band loves 69s, I'm telling you. These guys are weird. And then on the 3rd beat of the last measure, which is a 7/8 measure, we go like this. This is actually like an A sus4. I'd say an A sus4 because the bass note is an A. So really it's an F sharp, G, A progression with the kind of mixed up time changes in there. Now the last part goes like this. F sharp sus4, and we hit this. So you hit the 11th and 12th of the G and the B, which is a perfect 4th interval, down an octave to the F sharp here on the 9th fret of the A, slide into the G, and then hit a G sus2 chord, right? And you get that by barring the 10th fret and then playing the 12th fret of the D and the G respectively. And then you bring this down like this. Okay, you go to a G add 9 or a G sus2 at the 5th fret. So you got 5, 7, 8, and 5. And then a B sus4. 4, 4, 5, and 2. Just like that. Now this part, geez, what a ridiculous section. Because it's such a simple sounding part. It's just an arpeggio to another arpeggio, but of course they have to be add 9s. This is the G add 9 arpeggio, but one of the hardest ones you can get. Basically what you're doing is you're barring the 3rd fret of the E string. The E string. You're barring the 3rd fret of all 6 strings, damn it. You're taking your ring finger, putting it on the 5th fret of the A, your pinky on the 7th of the D, and your middle is going on the 4th of the G, while you're still barring the 3rd fret. So you go like this. And you arpeggiate and let all the notes ring. That's a G add 9 chord. And then here we have E add 9, which is not nearly as difficult. Well, it's actually E minor 7 with a 9th, an added 9th. And it's just the 2nd fret of the A, 4th fret of the D, and 3rd fret of the B string going like this. And then going into the next section, you have a little pick slide coming in from the distorted guitar into the B minor part. On this B minor chord that we start the section off on, you want to make sure you're highlighting the high F sharp on the high E string like this. Hear that F sharp? And you want to highlight that high E string on each of the subsequent chords that occur. Alright? Now the way that this is set up, we have a low pedal point B on the bottom of each of the chords, at least the first 3 chords. So we have B minor, we have this G major 7, which you also want to have that high F sharp on the top, otherwise it's not a major 7th chord. Now on this E minor, we play the 2nd fret here, the 2nd fret there, 4, 5, and then 3. You gotta play all of those notes to make this count, and yes, all of those are in there. Now the easy way to play this is without the high E string, but don't do that. Just don't do it. The next 2 chords after this are D and A. So it's easy to cut corners on this section. Don't do it. Play the high E string for every single one of those chords during that pedal point section. And trust me, I'll be thanking you. This next section indicates that this band is ready to make an entire album based on Metropolis Part 1. Within the lyric, somewhere like a scene from a memory, there's a picture worth 1,000 words. Scene from a memory. That might sound familiar to some of you. Here we have some variations. Now let's take a look at some of the differing sections from the earlier part. Right? That is an E minor scale type of, it's like a pull-off kind of lick. And you start it at the G string at the 9th fret, and you go like this. We're going 3, 2, 1, 2. In terms of the E minor scale, G, F sharp to E, 3, 2, 1. And we're doing that twice. With a little palm mute on the G. Okay, so. And then we're going to the 4, the sus4 up here. And we're doing the exact same thing with the same configuration. And then we go like this. So, that's just pull off pick, 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 pick. But those last 4 picks are palm mutes. So in total, so we come in the exact same way we did before with the double E, B sus2. Now, we add that little open and 5th fret trill on the B string. Just a constant hammer on and pull off between the open and the 5th fret. Following that, we just go like this. Same thing. Now, here we go. Immediately following that pinch harmonic, we hit an E minor at the 7th fret, and then a D sus2 to a C sus2, and then we play this lick. Alright, so that's sort of like the one from the previous chorus, except we're not playing chords, we're arpeggiating it with single notes. So we're going 5, 5, 5 on the B, G, and D, then 7, 5, 5, 8, 5, 5, 7, and that's the Lydian type of mode that we're going for. Nice vibrato on the last chord too. And then on this 5 section, you can call this 5/8, 5/16, whatever subdivision you're thinking of, but it's in 5 and you have to play it exactly in 5, otherwise you're gonna fall off the wagon. So we're going like this. It's almost exactly the same as the other part where we had, but instead we're playing it like this. So that's just a doubled up note on the 4th beat of that measure of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So on that 4th beat, you're hitting either a 16th doubled up note if you're in 8th timing, or a 32nd doubled up note if you're considering it in 16th timing. And then right into the E, just like we ended it that last time. But this time, we're opening up Pandora's box and going into quite possibly the most difficult instrumental section you can think of. So welcome to the most difficult 3 or 4 minutes you'll ever experience as a musician. Now let's check out the first part of this instrumental section, the intro of the instru. Let's check this out. It starts off like this. That's it. If you can finish this, congratulations. So we're basically just doing 4 chords within 2 5/8 measures, okay? First chord is here. It's a G power chord at the 5th fret of the D string, all right? And then you come down to an E power chord. Now, here's the tricky part. You're going to hold the first chord for 2 counts, and then the second for 3. So it'll be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we move on to the next 2 chords. Same rhythm. D and A over C sharp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's do that all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great, now we can actually get into the instrumental section. So we're going to start with this B add 9 shape. We have to hold the 2nd fret of the A string, the 4th fret of the D, and the 6th fret of the G for this stacked 5th add 9 shape. All right? The time signature is alternating between 6/8 and 7/8. So for a total wingspan of 13/8. Instead of just following the pattern like a normal human being, we add some doubles in there. Of course, it has to be more complicated than it looks on the surface. Well, it already looks complicated on the surface, now it's going to look even more complicated. So we're going like this. 2, 4, 6, and then on the 5th beat, you're going to double up on that G string note. 5/8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7. You do the doubles on the 4th beat and on the 7th beat, and also on beat 1 of the next measure. Double, 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 double. 4, 7, 1. So to really get that tight dun 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 dun, you have to use primarily downstrokes on the pick. Except when you do the doubles. When you double up, you do down up, and that adds a little bit of shift that occurs within the middle of it to make it a little more interesting. But the general feel is downstrokes. Right? So just ba 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 ba. The next portion of the program is simply a harmony of the previous section. Okay? So the keyboard is playing the lower part that we were just playing before, and we're playing this. It's just harmonizing it in thirds, starting on the note D, which is the minor third of the B. Notice how there's only one doubled up note. That's the only difference. Double. Double. Let's hear both the root note and the minor third harmony together at the same time. This is just a little extra thing that I'm going to do for you guys just to be nice. The next part of the instrumental section here, we're going to call the fast blibbly blibbly blop 16th note triplet Destruction Hell Tour. That's right, the Destruction Hell Tour of 16th note triplets. Now, that's if you're counting it like this. Really, the count is like this. Dot, 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 dot. So really we're playing eighth notes. So, okay, it's an eighth note triplet hell. I'm sorry. Now here's how it goes, full speed. So to get through this cacophony of insanely fast notes, we have to first know the B minor scale pattern from the 7th fret of the low E string all the way up to the 22nd fret of the high E string. That is a massive range for basically a scale exercise to be going through. Now what makes this more difficult is that we have the same time signature from earlier on happening underneath this. So it's basically that 6 plus 7, 6 plus 7, 6 plus 7, 6 plus 7, and then into the next part. Now each of these patterns, or each of these parts, lands on a beat. Okay, so each set of 3 notes lands on one beat. So if you really want to understand this as far down as you can, you have to know which beat each triplet lands on. Okay, so we're in an 8th note timing, so all the triplets are going to be 16ths. I'm going to do a little guided slow-mo through this, and I'm going to count through each of the parts. And then you're going to see where each of these triplets lands within this incredibly quick demonstration. So let's check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And into the last, really with the last part of the measure there. Sorry, I'm a little, not really very well spoken while I'm playing something like that and counting at the same time. So, where you think something is going to happen, it's not going to happen with this thing. Okay, so you have to learn these patterns exactly how they are when you're going up and down. Okay, and if you can pinpoint exactly which beat in the time signature that these triplets land on, then it'll lead you that much closer to really being able to perform this at a level that it has to be performed, which is precise. So coming into this next section, we get a break from the sheer technical speed of what we played previously, and we get to let the drums do the talking for a little while. But we have some cool voicings that we're going to go over on the guitar. This entire section contains 2 guitars which double basically the same part all the way through. The first sound is a heavy, distorted guitar, and the second sound is a glassy type of clean sound. Kind of like that. So if you get those in order, this is going to sound great when you pile them on top. So I'll split this up into a few different sections, and then at the end of this we'll put it all together and you can check out how it works. So the first part is a variation that harkens back to the beginning of this long instrumental passage. So we go back to this B minor add 9, right? Or that ambiguous stacked 5th type of idea. And then we hit this. So this is sort of like an A add 9 with a 6th as well. So it's sort of like an A69, another 69. We play it in that pattern. And then we move on to this. So that's just taking a B minor 7 shape on the 7th fret of the low E, 7, 5, 7. And then the 3rd fret, 5th fret, and 7th fret of the same 3 strings. So you're basically taking this higher D power chord and using it as the top to change the function of the chords. So here it would be B minor 7 with B, D, and A, and then G add 9 with G, D, and A, just like that. The next chord is an E minor 9. Right, that's kind of a classic one. You see that in a lot of metal songs, especially from back in the 80s. That was very prominent. Beginning of Sanitarium by Metallica. We only got a little sample of it here. Following that, we hit the F sharp minor add 9. That's a stacked 5ths on 2, 4, and 6. Then you slide to the 7th fret of the D string. So you're kind of resolving it. F sharp. You're going from the 9 to the minor 3rd. And then you're doing this little pull off from the 5th to the open on the A string, and that finishes off the riff. So coming right out of that F sharp 9 type of thing, we hit these 2 chords. Alright, so that, you're really holding a power chord on the 3rd and the 5th fret of the G string, but you're strumming all the way from the open A. Alright, so we're going like this. And then moving down to the 2nd and 4th fret to get an A add 9. So really it's F power chord, but you get the major 7th and the sharp 11th on top of it, on top of an A. That's a lot to take in. That's what it sounds like by itself. So really, yeah, it's the F, which is the root, C, which is the 5th. That's the sharp 11, the B. Major 7 is the E, and then the 3rd is on the bottom, so it's an inverted F chord, just a little crazier. Now a lot of times these descriptions of the chords can be more complicated than the actual part itself. Any guitarist can play a power chord and move it around, right? But can everybody explain what you're actually doing? After the F to the A, we go A to another type of A. So it's really A add 9 to A add 9. What do you know? It's the same exact note composition. You're just shifting this shape up to the 7th and the 9th fret on the same string. And then this one, we go to this G inverted power chord. We're actually starting on the 5th fret of the A string, barring the D on the 5th, and then hitting the 7th fret of the G. Now this is the only place where the clean deviates from the dirty guitar. And I'll just switch real quick so I can show you the difference. Instead of playing this to this, it goes from here to here. So you got the open G add 9 positioning. 3rd fret open, 2nd fret 3rd. Now going back to the distorted part, we hit this F sharp 11 chord, alright? And this is kind of a tricky stretch, so pay attention. So we go from E to F, and then we have to hold this entire shape down with this rhythm. So pay careful attention to that rhythm. Boom, 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 boom. So you gotta hit it just like that. Now you're going open 1 to the root of the chord, to the power chord, to the sharp 11, but this time you can't play it open because we need the 1st fret to get that dissonance between the B and the C, sharp and 11th and the 5th, up to the root. And then immediately we go open E, like this, power chord, to an F sharp 7 with an added 11th. And then we get to do this. Now all that is you're hopping up to the 12th fret of the high E and letting it ring out. That dissonance between E, B, and A sharp. Got a great sound on there, and you give it a little bit of whammy bar and you'll get something that's super hectic sounding. Very, sounds like a swarm of bees trying to kill you. And then we come back down to the same open voicing. Portnoy goes off a little bit. Pick slide, hit this again, all 6 strings, and then we go up the octave to E sus 2, and then F sharp sus 2, and then finally this rhythm. And then we're into the bass solo, which just follows a pretty basic progression. Pretty self-explanatory. Here's what the clean guitar does. The only difference there is that we have the F sharp power chord, but we're actually skipping the G string and expanding that voicing to an even larger power chord. So we're hitting root, 5th, octave, 5th, octave. Alright, to give it a wider sound. And if you listen carefully to the isolated tracks, you can hear that the clean guitar is playing those higher notes, and it gives it more of a glassy, aggressive tone to go along with the rest of the instruments. Four, 1, 2. This next section of Metropolis, I believe, is referred to as the Dixie Dregs section. I think that's from the band themselves. So this whole section follows an F sharp mixolydian type of run. Now the F sharp Mixolydian scale is a major scale with a flat 7. So let's go over those notes real quick. So here it is real compact. We got F sharp as the 1, G sharp as the 2, A sharp as the 3, B is the 4, C sharp is the 5, D sharp is the 6, E natural is the flat 7, and then back to F sharp as the 1. So all of those notes make up what we're going to be working with here. And really the operative chords here are either going to be an F sharp 7 chord or a B. That's kind of what the resolution is telling me here. So the first part starts off like this, with the flat 7, the sus4, resolving to the 3rd, and the root. So, and then we do a chromatic dissension, very fast, from the 14th fret of the high E string, all the way down to the 11th fret of the G. So you're going like this. And then before you hit the last note, you got to switch positions, which then goes into the next part, which outlines the root, flat 7, the major 6, and the 5. And then we do this fast run, right, which goes all the way down to the root note again. So we're kind of going all the way from root to root, sort of in a chromatic type of motion with slight differences. You can look at the tab for the slight differences. Now here we hit our first resolution point. So this is kind of like a B sus4 resolution, and then to the F sharp 7 resolution, sus4. Okay, so 1, 2s, and 3s, and we come back to the root and hit it twice. We continue on with a sweep pick up the F sharp 7. Okay? So this is basically the sus4 to the 5th to the flat 7 up to the F sharp. Then we're going to slide up to the major 3rd, play around with the root in the 2nd to the flat 7, then this little, that's that B chord coming back again, where we have the D sharp, the B, which is the root, and the D sharp down here, major 3rd. Then we have this little resolution, once again, B major to F sharp major. Then we're going like this. Okay, so this is kind of like a play on the flat 7. So you're going flat 7, root, 5th, root, and then flat 7, root, 5th, flat 7. And you want to try to get that palm mute on the bottom strings there. Helps with the articulation. And then we're doing this kind of stereotypical, but very cool. Okay, so that's basically, you're just going chromatically from the minor 3rd into this shape. So this is actually a chromatic ascension dealing with the F sharp chord, right? But we're just closing in on it from the minor 3rd to the major 3rd. And then we go like this. So that's just a flat 3rd to a major 3rd, resolving down to the chord. Now this is a D chord shape on the F sharp. Next up, as if we didn't have enough, we're going in on this other chromatic type of section. Now this part's really, you know, kind of fusion-esque. So all chromatic notes that are outlining that F sharp 7. So we're encircling the F sharp 7 by doing this. Starting on the B, which is the sus4, resolving into the 3rd, and then coming back up. Chromatic down. Now here, we skip that chromatic note coming back up, go chromatic down. That's 5, flat 5, 4, major 3rd. And then we skip the chromatic note again going up, then chromatic to the flat 7. And then we have this very quick 16th note triplet type of thing. So we start off here, a little bit of the entertainer type of thing. And then we come back down, then we have this one. So this is sort of like an F sharp chord, an E chord, which is the flat 7. So you could do that. You can play an E major chord on top of an F sharp, and you get that sort of Mixolydian sound going on. And then we come here, which is like a B chord, and then, which is like a C sharp chord, and then, all the way back down to the F sharp. And here we got some bendy bends coming up. Full step on the 10th fret of the B. So that's a chromatic going 7, 8, 9, 10. A little bit of dissonance there. Then chromatic down. That's just a straight up blues lick. And then this. So that's kind of tricky. You want to do a double pull off with the 3 fingers all the way down to the F sharp, and then with that flat 3rd, major 3rd resolution down the D chord, and then you do it again down an octave. And then here we just go blues, straight up F sharp minor blues scale, then a step and a half bend, release, and a trill on the 2nd and 4th fret for the E and the F sharp, now flat 7 to the root. Coming out of that fusion bit, we're greeted with yet another E to F sharp 11 chord. So here we go. It just goes like this. And then we head into this section. So this section can be counted in either 3/4 or 6/8, depending on how you want to subdivide the beat. I'm going to go with 6 just because it's easier to keep along with the faster count. So we start with this E power chord, but it's a double E power chord. So you're holding the E power chord with the open E and the A string 2nd fret at the same time, so E and B. And then you're also holding the D string 2nd fret and the 4th fret of the G, which is also E and B. So you're playing E, B, E, B. Now what I like to do is I like to sweep up this with my right hand. Sweep pick up it. Like that. So give your hand a little bit of a break. You don't have to go, you know, that's too much work. We don't want to work too hard here. That second part that happens just goes like this. So you're hitting the open to the 3rd fret of the A string, to the 3rd fret of the D and the 5th fret. So you're kind of doing this this F chord. Okay, so it's a flat 2 chord, and you're going from the 3rd to the 5th to the root to the 9th. So let me play that for you slow. E5, F add 9, E5, F add 9. And then it stops and we head into the first proper guitar solo of the song, the first and only. This guitar solo basically touches on some E minor and major modes. So we're going to take a look at all of the notes as they appear on top of E. Now the riff is what was being played before with the E to the F. However, John Petrucci is kind of ignoring this when he's playing through this solo. He's just playing different variations on E modes. So I'm going to split that up into a few different sections, and I'll play each one of them slowly for you, and then describe what's going on. So right here we're dealing with the 14th fret position of an E minor. Okay, so we're going E up to the root, 17th fret again, so it's just E to E, octave. Then we're hitting the 4th to the flat 7. So you're really doing like a D power chord on top of an E. And then we're hitting the B, which is the 5th of the chord, to the minor 3rd of the E, so we're in a minor mode, hammering on to the 4th to the flat 7. So we're touching on all those same notes. It's kind of like an E minor pentatonic type of thing. And then we're going like this into this section. So that's a very abrupt transition into what we would call an E Lydian sound. So it's an E Lydian, but it has a flat 7. So we call that the Lydian dominant mode. So we're dealing with these notes. E, D, which is the flat 7, the sharp 4, the 5th, the major 3rd, right? So this time we're hitting the major 3rd, not the minor 3rd, going directly from minor to a major mode within really a couple measures. Then we're hitting the E, the root, sliding up to the 9th, the F sharp, and then hitting the lower octave of the sharp 4 to reinforce the Lydian sound. Here's the next section. Okay, so some of those parts are almost reminiscent of like Under the Sea and The Little Mermaid or something like that. You know, a little kind of goofy sounding, you know? A lot of these parts are very goofy sounding when you really put a microscope under them. So we start off with a double octave jump, and then the 5th and the 4th, okay, respectively in relation to E. Then we're going for this. So that's classic encirclement. Encirclement is when you purposefully play the notes that are outside of a chord directly with the intention of resolving to it in a chromatic fashion. So I have the 17th fret of the E here, which is the A, which is the sus4. But then I'm going directly to the minor 3rd to the major 3rd. So chromatically resolving. So we're encircling the G sharp, which is the major 3rd of the chord. And then going right to the root note. And then we do this double octave again. Same thing, and this time we go A, B, G sharp, and right down the major triad. That's very simple. Here's the last part and probably the most confusing. So basically what we're dealing with is a series of resolutions and then sliding out of that resolution, right? Now you can slide all the way up to the 24th fret here as a resolution, so you hit the E. And then we're going to go down to here to the 11th fret of the D string. So there's a lot of skipping around with this section. So 11th fret to 12th of the D string, which in the key of E is the major 6 to the flat 7. Then you're going to the root, and you can slide up to the 5th here. So you're doing this sort of demented slide up to all the arpeggio notes of the E. So we came from G sharp to E, now we're going E to B, right, with those notes in between. So here we continue on. We hit the sharp 4 at the 8th fret of the D string, going to the 9th, resolving to the 5th. So sharp 4 to 5, and then kind of a ghost note to the sus4 to the major 3rd. So we're hitting all of those notes in the same bar. So sharp 4, perfect 5th, sus4, and major 3rd. So here we're going up to the 9th fret of the high E string, 9, 10, and then slide all the way up to that 17th fret B again. And we end it off with this. So all that is just the root note E, the sharp 4, the 5, and then a flat 7 full step bend up to the root. So now we're entering into one of the more disjointed sections. We follow up that whole solo up with this. The same part 4 times. And then we hit this riff. It's like a triplet feel. We're basically just hitting the E, so keeping from earlier, we're staying on E, just an octave, and then we're going B, E, F. So we're still playing on that flat 2 sort of Phrygian idea. Next up, we're dealing with probably the most dissonant and disjointed section of the song, but it's eventually making our way into the ending, which kind of comes full circle with the beginning a little bit, you know, and at least comes back into the same key. But here we're dealing with all tritones and augmented shapes. So we're going like this. Okay, so once again, another goofy sounding thing, right? So we're just dealing with stacked tritones starting on the 3rd fret of the low E, which is a G. So you're going G, C sharp, G, C sharp. And then we're doing the opposite shape. So we're doing this sort of like goofy backward arpeggio shape on the guitar. But these are all major thirds. So you're going B flat, F sharp, D, B flat. So it's an augmented triad, B flat augmented. So you're going G tritone, and then B flat augmented on the way down. Then you're heading up 1/2 step to G sharp. G sharp D, G sharp D. It's the same shape as the other one. And then you just move that same deal up to B. So B and F, and then D, B flat, and then C, F sharp. And then we hit this goofy D tritone, stacked tritone. Then we go up to here, the 11th fret. Same thing. And then we do this. Chromatically, from the note B flat. So we're ending at the 15th fret of the D. Then we're hitting this staccato 16th fret, a D sharp. And then all the way down a flat 9 to the D. And then we're going like this. Which I guess comes back into an E major since you're playing in a G sharp and an E. I don't really know what to tell you about this part theoretically. It's just kind of chromaticism, using different types of dissonances to navigate into another section. I see it as a transition. So you're kind of just moving down chromatically, or you're not kind of moving down chromatically, you are moving down chromatically. Let's just say what it is. You're starting at the 3rd fret, going G, F sharp, F, E, then C, B, B flat, A. And you want to end on that A pretty hard. And you do it 4 times. And then we come into what I would say is the most difficult part of the song. This part does not stop. It changes times constantly, and you'll see what I mean once we get into it. So here comes the big kahuna. This section reminds me of a massive snake, a 2,000-foot long snake, an ARKANOID if you will. A segmented, centipedal type of beast that keeps forming and forming and forming and twisting and turning and never ending. Because every time you take out one of its segments, it just grows back again. This is the type of thing we're dealing with here. I'm about to play the entire section all at once for you so you can see how it's done. So please, pay attention. So we're going to segment that centipede, that ARKANOID that we're trying to conquer, into as many pieces as we need to until we get to the end of this. So let's start off with the very first little bit here. We play this 3 times. And that last measure of 9/8 comes in afterward. Now this section is a measure of 6/8 followed by 3/4. Now you can call the whole thing 12/8, but the feel changes on the second measure, so I decided to break it up in that way. Because you're kind of going like this. Triple and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and right? It's kind of like right? It's the same type of breakdown, so I decided to split it up in that way. That first chord can be implied as a G major 7 with the G, F sharp, and the F sharp. And then we have a B, which is also indicative of the same chord. But then we move right into a C power chord. And then right into a B power chord. So we can think of this as G major 7, C, B. G, C, B. Okay? And then we work off the same chords on that next measure of 9/8. And you just stop it at the second fret of the A string. So the next part goes into a series of 5/8 and 7/8 alternating measures. So let's check that out. And we're sort of dealing with we're doing like an E minor chord, so G to B, F sharp to B to A, and then we're hitting it to C. So we're sort of playing around an E minor and a C chord. Now if you notice, earlier in the song, the 2 main chords that start off the whole thing are E minor and C. So this could be a little play on that they're bringing back. We do that twice, and then we head into this sort of C-Lydian spider type of exercise, because it kind of reminds me of a spider. And the chords that it's riffing off of are based on C, D, and B minor because of the note structure. Because you have a C, an A, a G, an E, an F sharp, a D, and a B. So all of those combined create a C major chord, a D major chord, and a B minor chord, all in the same thing, which actually creates a C-Lydian sound. So this is riffing off of C-Lydian. So after we riff around with those chords, we hit into this other section that sounds like this. So that's kind of a big bass note walk-up. So we start off with an F sharp, we scale up G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and then F sharp. Alright, so we have a little bit of modal stuff going on here. So we start off on the F sharp, and we're going like this. With the first measure, F sharp to G. That's an octave going to a flat 9, and then an octave from a G going to a regular 9, and then for the measure of 7, you're going to A, which is a 6 flat 7 octave, another measure measure of 5 with B, but this time it's like a B5 to a flat 6 chord. Then a C, measure of 7 on C with a Lydian sound. Sharp 4, 5, 6. And then we're going up to D with a 4th, a 5th, up to E, a 4th, a 5th, and then to the next measure of 7, which is another Lydian sound, but this time on F. So you're on a flat 2 Neapolitan Lydian. Right, with the same motion that we had on the C. And then we go like this, chromatically, back to the F sharp. That outlines a Lydian on a C. Okay, even though we're not even playing a C. You're playing F sharp, E, F sharp, and B, which kind of outlines a C major 7 with a sharp 11. This whole entire section starts off low, moves into the middle of the guitar, and then gets higher. So we have a few more little bits here that are kind of like spider exercises, right? All 4 of our fingers are being used to traverse these notes. So we're starting on G, the perfect 5th. We'll assume this is all on C as well, more C Lydian stuff. Right there you have the G, the B, the F sharp, the C, and the A. So you have the 6th, the 7th, the root, the 5th, and the sharp 4 all in the same place, right? And then you eventually go to the E, and then root 2 and the 7th. So you basically hit every single note in the scale, but in a weird order, right? The second half of it follows the exact same sort of idea. Another spider type of thing. We have to use all 4 of our fingers. So this is just hitting the C right here, the A, back to the C, which is the root, and then G, F sharp. So we're playing around with those same chord notes as before. C major, D major, and B minor to create the C Lydian sound. This next part's probably the hardest part because you've already played all those notes prior. And now you got to keep playing notes that are even higher, and you have to be just as precise. And the note situation is very tricky. So let's check out what's going on here. We'll play the whole high section slowly. That last bend sucked. However, here's a little tip that's going to help you out. So, it's all about where your pointer finger is situated. So we're going to start here on this sort of E minor part, B minor arpeggio, and then this sort of like D7 or diminished type of thing. But I'm shifting my pointer finger onto the 10th fret immediately. Otherwise, I would never be able to play the next part with any type of ease. It would be very clunky, very clumsy. And then starting here, I'm going with this sort of like D pattern. So I'm on a D position. Double B, and then we hit right up here. That's sort of like another Lydian thing with the C major. Then we come up here. We have to do a big skip there. And then we move with our pointer up here. So you have to slide your pointer up again. And then, so the key is to understand where the double notes are, because the double notes are going to require you to slide your pointer finger in almost immediately. See that slide right there? Then we keep going. Slide, you got to slide it up right there, and then you have to slide the pointer in to reach that high note as well. God damn, that was tough, but you stuck with me the entire time. I can't believe you did that. It doesn't seem possible, but you did it. You should give yourself a pat on the back, drink yourself a beer, drink yourself 2 beers, Drink yourself 3 beers. Drink yourself a whole 6-pack. Down an entire bottle of wild turkey right now to prove your manhood. I'm just kidding. Don't ever do that. I don't want to get banned off YouTube for obvious sarcasm. Alright? The robots can't detect that kind of stuff. The last 2 measures of that section just go like this. This is why, this is going on during that high note you bend. It's just the 2 measures of 5/8 from way before at the end of those choruses. And then we sandwich the whole thing with this again. So if you remember that from earlier on, just play that same exact part with the G power chord, the E power chord, the D power chord, and the A over C sharp power chord. And then we head into the B minor section, the closing B minor section. There is a modulation, but we are dealing with mostly B minor arpeggios here. So let's check those out. So for the first part, we're hitting this. B minor 11, G major 7, with an F sharp passing tone coming down to an E minor 9, and then D sus2, and a sweepy stacked 5th A add 9 type of thing. We go like this. See that? Then we come back to the B minor 11, G major 7, F sharp going down. Now that time, you're just hitting the open B string instead of the 3rd fret of the D. And then we do this. Alright, so that's kind of like Fade to Black, but not. You're doing a flat 3, that sort of D major with the G arpeggio going, the open G. And then once you're done with that, we hit C sharp and D, which is 2, flat 3, resolving back to 1. Perfect. Then we come back again with the B minor 11, G major 7, F sharp leading down, same one as the first time, but now we go like this. You actually do the Fade to Black thing there. The very last time, we change it up completely. You play this sort of idea. You go 2nd fret, 4th fret, open G, and the 3rd fret of the B string, and you just arpeggiate. And then you just change the bass note down to G, E, and then D. Now there you're gonna have to change your finger positioning, but that's all you have to do. You're keeping the F sharp, the G, and the D on top of those chords as you're moving. So the first chord would be B with a flat 6, G major 7, E minor 9, and then D with an added 11th on top. Now here we're reaching the final stretch. We come in again with the B minor pedal point section that happened way earlier. Goes like this. This is the 3rd and last dance, which is ironic because they only played this part twice. Whatever. All the same stuff. G major 7 over B, E minor over B, D, A. Now here's the key change. B flat, C over B flat, G minor, D minor, F over C, C, E flat sus2, B flat over D with a little vibrato, then F, sus2, C, slow it down, and then we just hit a D, coming right at the end there. Now there is a clean part in that section that is a little bit different, and the only difference is on the F chord. It goes like this. But it does the exact same thing otherwise. It's just on that F chord it does that little descending line. So I'm going to play both of those parts together so you can hear what the clean and the distorted parts are doing, and then we're going to conclude this. We're going to conclude this video. Alright everybody, thanks so much for watching this video. It's been a long journey through Metropolis Part 1. But we're not going to stop our journey through images and words. Please stick around for updates for my channel. And please, anybody who's interested in supporting this channel, please go to subscribestar.com/RomanOva Music, and you can pledge as little as $1 a month to me, and this helps out immeasurably, okay? So I'll see you on the next episode. It's going to be under a glass moon.